We often hear about the importance of physical strength, resilience, and pushing our limits. But how often do we pause to consider where true strength really begins? Our thoughts shape our actions, and our mental well being forms the foundation for everything that we do. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's special episode of Let's Align podcast. I'm your host, Ruhi, and I'm truly excited to have you all join in for a conversation that promises to inspire, empower, and uplift. And I'm especially excited about today's episode because I have a truly inspiring guest with me who brings a deep well of experience, compassion, and wisdom. And today, she'll be sharing insights, real life stories, and practical tools that show us how taking care of our minds is so critical. Nika, thank you so much, and I'm so excited to have you here. For those who may not be familiar with you yet, can you just tell a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me. I'm very much excited for this episode. So, I am an intuitive integrative wellness coach. I am also a first responder. I have been having my own company for several years now, but I feel like I've been kind of coaching my whole life. My company started not because I was looking to be an entrepreneur, but there
Mm-hmm.
just was a need. I've always been that person that I sit at a bar and all of a sudden someone starts talking to me and I know their whole life story after 3 hours, right? So I'm very excited to connect, and I hope that I'm able to share and inspire your audience.
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's so inspiring to hear about your journey and the passion behind your work. And I'm really looking forward to have this conversation today. So, when you hear the phrase strength starts with a healthy mind, what does that mean to you on a personal level?
So I think as someone who's had my own personal health battles for decades,
Mm-hmm.
and I was one of those voices that no one listened to. And I didn't realize how much my mental and emotional, my spiritual were suffering because of my physical ailments. And I believe that whatever is happening to the physical body is just a symptom of what's actually happening on the inside of the body. So, with some clients, you have to start with the physical and get them physically feeling better to start working on the mental and the emotional. For
Mm-hmm.
some people, you got to start working on the mental and emotional to get them physically healthy. But it's all interconnected. I don't believe you could really have one over the other. I think strength comes within various avenues and in various places.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to be strong, I think all four cornerstones, which in my opinion are the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual, need to be healthy and aligned. It's the same thing when people start talking about health. Most people think of it either in terms of weight or nutrition, or now there's this, kind of fad in a way of mental health, right? And bringing in the mental health. But you're a complex person. Your health has to not only be physical, it also has to be mental, but it also has to be emotional,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you interact with the world? How do you, how does the word affect you, right? How do your feelings involve? And then there's that spiritual aspect of it, right? Like, what is your purpose? What are you trying to serve in this world? Whether you're religious or whether you're spiritual, or even if you're an atheist, there
Mm-hmm.
has to be a level of a component that is there is something greater outside of yourself. And I believe that all those four components require you to be strong and healthy and centered in order to be healthy, all encompassing.
Well, I love the fact that strength comes from nurturing our minds and not just our bodies. And why do you think that mental health plays such a crucial role in building true strength?
I think the reason why mental health is so important is because your state of being
Mm-hmm.
is literally going to be the thing that determines your output. And I'll use a simple analogy of a plant. You can go to the store and you can buy a beautiful plant. And if you put it in a dark room, it's going to die because it's lacking what?
Yeah.
Sunlight, right? If you buy a plant and you put too much water in it, you drown it and then it dies. But if you give it the right amount of sunlight and if you give it the right amount of fertilizer or not, or whatever the plant requires, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
bloom and it's going to grow.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the mind. Your mental state, that mental place that you are, indicates the output of the physical.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, for example, I went through decades of physical ailments and I was diagnosed and misdiagnosed so many times in and out of hospitals. I couldn't sleep more than 40, 45 minutes at a time. My body would literally lock up and then I had to like push my body to, extend it back out. I was having issues with weight gain, weight loss. I could literally drop and lose 10 pounds within a week, which is crazy and not even trying. I was constantly in a state of inflammation. I was constantly in pain. My body hurt. And the last time I was hospitalized, I was there for 4 days. The doctor diagnosed me with fibromyalgia, which is basically a nonsense diagnosis because what it means is we have no idea what you really have or what's going on. But these are all the checklists that you don't fall into, so we're going to put you in this category.
Mm-hmm.
And he started me on a protocol of all these different medicines. And within a month, I gained over 30 pounds because all I wanted to do is eat like just bad sugars, right? Like the fake candies and stuff. That's not even like my diet. And I was really depressed. I started thinking about suicide, and I didn't have those thoughts before. And I got really angry when I found out that I was put on antidepressants without really being consulted about it. And I stopped all of those medicines. And then I started going more holistically. And once, I always was mentally strong because I was just trying to survive every day.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was able to fix the physical, I didn't realize how much work I really had to do on the mental and the emotional level
Mm-hmm.
because I thought I was strong the whole time. But when I physically wasn't fighting my body every day, and my body was reached homeostasis, reached a level of balance, of functionality, I had so much mental and emotional stuff to unpack. And I think that strength really did not come to me until I found peace. Like, I have found peace. I have found balance. I have found purpose. I am steady. Like, it's like that tree when a hurricane comes. It could blow the leaves away and it doesn't matter. The roots are so deep in my world. And I think a lot of times strength comes from necessity more than it comes from wanting to be that way. Because of my necessity, I had to be strong,
Yeah.
right? To deal with everything I had to deal with on the physical level. But once the physical was done and over with, I really wasn't mentally or emotionally that strong. I just was in survival mode. So when I got out of survival mode and I got to work on the mental and the emotional stuff, that's when I said, wow, this is real strength. This isn't survival mode, right? And I think a lot of times we confuse someone who's being strong or mentally strong that they're really just in survival mode.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And it's a powerful reminder that mental health is the foundation for everything else. After listening to you, I'm even more keen to know a little bit more about how the conversation is going to go ahead from now on. So, do you believe that mental strength is something that is inherent in all of us, or is it a skill that we develop and strengthen over time?
I think you have everything within your body that you need.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one lacking anything. The biggest issue is we get so pulled apart into so many different directions. There's so many roles, right? Like if you're a wife or a mother or a child or, you're the boss, whatever the case is, we get pulled into so many different directions. We don't really take the time to nurture and foster us. We take care of a lot of everyone else around us but ourselves. So the issue is for a lot of the times, everyone has the strength. They just don't think they have it because they have not taken the time to
Mm-hmm.
really learn who they are and what they're about. If everyone took at least 15 minutes a day of actual silence, no telephone, no TVs, no distractions, just 15 minutes to sit in silence with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to face a lot of demons and a lot of things that they didn't realize are kind of still there and holding them back in a lot of ways, right? But when you take that journey into your own darkness, you find this solid, deep water, as I call it, right? The depths are endless. And that's where your strength is. Strength to me is like the ocean. It's deep, it's dark, it's cold, it's endless, and it's steady underneath, right? The waves could be as crazy as they want on top, but it's that depth of that steadiness that's where real strength is, and we all possess that. I think some of us have you had to use those strength muscles, kind of like within the body, right? If you work out, you use the muscles more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about using that strength but also finding it first. Everyone's center of strength is in a different place. I don't think strength looks the same way with every single person. Some people, like for example, I'm a talker, right? I could talk, 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 talk. Some people have an amazing strength in their silence. Strength doesn't. I don't believe strength is a one size fits all. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point that you called out. It's motivating to know that mental strength isn't something fixed, which many people think, but something we can grow and develop over a period of time. And I'm sure many people will feel inspired to work on strengthening their own mindset after hearing this, and that includes me as well. What are some of the most misconceptions or myths that people have about mental strength?
I think that they think it's something that they have to, like, I don't know. People act as though mental strength is something that, like, you have to figure out how to get.
Mm-hmm.
As if, like, you can go to the store and just buy it and put it on. It doesn't, any development within you as a person, it doesn't matter whether it's strength, peace, love, financial, anything that you want in life. You actually have to put the work in,
Action.
right?
Yeah.
It has to be, right? Like, you actually have to do the work. You can't be a dreamer and then think the dream is just going to come to fruition, you know? It's like a prime example. Let's say if you're looking for love, but then you sit home every day and you don't go anywhere and you don't interact. Unless you think he's going to come by like delivery service, right? You're not going to find that love. Like, you have to kind of put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But then this is something I tell people all the time. You have to have that bucket within you that you
Mm-hmm.
love yourself first, right? So I think a lot of the times when people start to talk about strength, because I get told on a daily basis, I'm so strong and I'm so strong. And yes, I was strong my whole life. I don't think I'm strong anymore because I'm not in survival mode anymore. I have now strength in my peace and in my balance.
While you speak about these misconceptions, if I may ask you, if you could rewrite one misconception people have about mental health, what would it be and how would you want to change the narrative?
I think the biggest thing is fixing your mental health is not as difficult as people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary, it's overwhelming, it's going to cause you anxiety. There's a lot of bad information out there, to be honest with you. A lot of people trying to sell their products or sell their services. You have everything in you in order to get to where you want to be. Your imagination is your biggest superpower. If you could imagine yourself living in a way that you want to live or being in a place where you want to be, you're already there. If you could envision it, you've already gotten there. You have to now go backwards and say, what are the steps of getting me there?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be, do I need to maybe become more centered? Maybe go to some type of a church or a mosque or, right, or a temple. Maybe you need to read some type of scripture. Maybe you need to meditate. Maybe it's just moving the body with yoga. There are so many different avenues that you can find for your strength. It's not as difficult as people think it is. I know it's overwhelming. And I think in a lot of ways, we
Mm-hmm.
have been made to feel like we are so delicate and that we are so stuck in whatever the box that we're currently in. But the box that we're put in, we're only staying there because we don't think that there's a lid to get out of the box. So if you literally just don't limit yourself. Don't look for external sources. That's something I tell all the time, right? You can look for external sources for tools,
Mm-hmm.
but all the work has to be done within you. And it's really not as difficult as people say. It's scary, it's uncomfortable. There's going to be anger, there's going to be crying. But you know what? If you're trying to lose weight and you're going to the gym, that's usually not a good feeling the first few weeks either, right? You're sore, you're miserable, you don't want to go. And it's the same thing with the mind. Just how you have to exercise the body
Mm-hmm.
and flex those muscles, you have to exercise the mind as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for people to know that asking for help or taking care of their mind doesn't make them rather it really makes them human. Is that right?
I also think there's a large population, and I feel like this is more pertaining to men, and I have a lot of male clients,
Mm-hmm.
and I work in a predominantly male environment, um, where men are are brought up very interestingly. So if you see a family and a little boy and a little girl, if the little girl falls, everyone's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" The little boy falls, it's like, "Get up, you big baby," right? Also with women, we'll get dressed up, we'll do the hair, do the makeup, right? We'll have a girls' night, and someone at the end of the night is crying into their martini. And all the girls would be like, "My goodness, girl, I got you, girl power," right? The whole shebang. Men, they could be going through a death, a loss, a divorce, something really stressful in their life. They'll go to the bar with a friend, and
Mm-hmm.
their friend will be like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" He's like, "Yeah, my wife left me. That sucks. Did you see the game last night?" Men don't really have this avenue to talk. And I think that also then funnels into the relationships between men and women on all
Mm-hmm.
levels because we have such different levels of communication, societal expectations of how we communicate in so many ways, right? That it it's not even about asking for help. Like you said, it's about being human because
Yeah,
we all have these feelings,
yeah,
regardless of whether you're men or whether you're women. But we have been kind of trained and programmed to express those feelings in a different way.
yeah.
You know, there's a big difference between saying to someone, hey, I'm having a really tough day today, versus someone who every minute of the day has a dramatic issue, right?
Yeah, that's true. But thank you so much for sharing that perspective. Now, how do you personally stay motivated and maintain mental strength during difficult or challenging time?
You know, and this sounds probably really silly. I just don't think about it. I'm a very analytical person, and I'm someone who I really overanalyze. I strive to give everyone around me the best me every single day. And that's challenging, right? Because we don't always wake up in the best mood, in the best mental space. But I really try to not dwell on whatever's happening. I kind of look at life like, if I have a problem, okay, let's talk about the solution. It doesn't mean I don't give myself permission to sit in it, right? Or feel the emotions. But for me, I've learned having kind of a strict guideline or a timeline works better for me, because then I end up getting stuck in the feeling or the emotion, right? On the emotional end. And then mentally
Mhm.
it kind of starts draining me, and it doesn't make me productive. So when I'm having a bad situation, like I'll give you a prime example, right? Within my job, we suicide is a very common topic, right, within first responders. And I used to be someone that I would just close up, barricade, I'm fine. But that's not being honest, right? So now I'm going to be angry, I'm going to cry, I'm going to express it, and then I'm going to say to myself, there's nothing I could have done. This is a decision someone made, and it still makes me sad, and it still, has an impact, but I'm not swimming in that emotion for days at a time or weeks at a time. And that honestly takes practice. It's the same thing when I work with clients who have anxiety, right? Is people get anxious, and then before you know it, let's say a prime example, let's say you go to the store and somebody is being rude or someone is being just nasty, give you bad energy. You walk out of that store feeling bad, and then all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, now other things are bothering you, and now you're getting flustered, and now you're getting anxious, right? And
Yeah.
now it's an hour later, now it's 3 hours later, and you have all this anxiety. Well, you can literally go and you start building those mental muscles of going back and saying, okay, that person was rude. Whatever their issue is has nothing to do with me. Deep breath, reset, and keep going.
I think it's all about acknowledging our emotions, and it's so good to hear some real conversation and personal ways of staying strong. And I'm pretty sure our listeners will find comfort and definitely motivation in the way you deal with it. So, how do you envision society changing if mental health were valued as highly as physical health?
I think that mental health is important. I think it's all important, right? The mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical. I really think in order for our society to change into a better place, is the work needs to start with us. First and foremost, with us reconnecting to who we are. Because you can't truly have a deep connection with another human being if you are disconnected from yourself.
And if I
So
may pause you and ask you, how can one, because not many people have this understanding about how do you connect to yourself. So if you can break it down in simple way for our listeners, how can one connect to oneself?
absolutely. You know, the number one way to reconnect to yourself is find your joy. We are so busy doing everyday things that we are
Hmm.
expected to do or we
Yeah.
need to do, whether it's family, children, spouses, dogs, whatever. We lose our joy. The best example is, think of a little kid riding their bike down the street and how happy they are and carefree.
Yeah.
That kid is having the most amazing day of his life riding that bicycle, and is completely in his state of being or her state of being, right? If every day you take 15 minutes a day to do something that brings you joy, I don't mean technology, I don't mean a movie, I'm talking about maybe it's drawing, maybe it's coloring, maybe it's creating clay or working on those little model airplanes. Whatever it is, go back to the things you enjoyed as a kid. Those little kids are still within us, right? We're just now a lot of times, these bigger, harder, more jaded versions of
Hmm.
that child. But that spirit of that child, that true essence, that's who we really are at baseline. Like I always tell my clients, there's something, it's an exercise I do with, right? I have them close their eyes and we do like a breathing exercise. And I go, if I had a magic wand and I took away all the people that hurt you, all the memories that have broken your heart, that have created scars on the body, who are you? Who would you be? And the best way to find that is to go to do things that you love. Maybe you love to sing. Start singing in the shower to yourself. Maybe you love to play music. Do something, right? Maybe you love rollerblading. Go buy some rollerblades. 15 minutes a day. If you spend 15 minutes a day finding your joy, I guarantee you before you know it, you're becoming more and more connected to yourself because you're feeding that spirit, that inner child. Your inner child is that spirit that never goes away.
Yeah.
You know, she's in us, in him, at all times. So start with the reconnection. If you're able to reconnect to you, which we all are able to reconnect, then you're able to fix, as I always say, spring clean everything in the house, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
body of the house. And then all of these amazing other changes happen to you, right? Like with my personal journey, I fixed the physical. It opened this mental and emotional world that I didn't know it was that bad. I had no idea. No one, even people who've known me my whole life, had no idea how bad it was. And they still don't, right? Because you're the only one that lives within you every day.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm a mess inside. And then I said, okay, I have two options. I'm either going to put it under the rug and I'm going to just pretend it's not there, which is the easy way, which is the avoiding way, which many people do, or I'm going to go, I'm better than this. I want better than this. I see better than this. How do I get there? And then it opened this world of spirituality for me. So now when I meet people, I've always had the gift of intuition and empathy in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really realize how strong it is. Now that I am vibrating on a more like centered, focused, peaceful way, I literally meet someone and I can see the pain, I can see their hurt. I can feel that from them within 10 seconds of meeting them. And I think we all have that amazing ability, but it starts with we connect with ourselves first. And I connect with someone like you. We connect and
Mm-hmm.
then we vibrate, right? We
Yeah.
vibrate all of that connection out and then making everyone stronger and society stronger as a whole.
Absolutely. As I hear you, it's all about finding those little joys. That's the key to firstly identify, how do we connect to ourselves. Now, what do you think would happen if people prioritize mental health being in the same way they do for their physical health, be it in the workplace, school, or home?
So I think the problem is that with school and work and home, they are so segregated now, right? We spend so many hours, we spend more hours with our coworkers majority of the time than we do with our family. Like for example, I live in the United States now. My whole family's back in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go there on a Sunday and have dinner, right? I have to get on a plane and once a year go visit my family. And that makes it difficult. And granted, you appreciate that quality time. But luckily for technology, it's so much easier to just kind of do like, that check-in. I think also it's about just being more human to each other. We all have bad days. We all have situations, right? I'm very blessed to work with amazing people on a daily basis and we take care of each other. I know something is going on with my partner literally by the hello, right? Because we're so connected and we spend so many hours together. And some days I'm like, hey, are you just tired? Do you need a minute? Okay, how can I take care of you today? I feel if we approached each other more in a humanitarian way of, hey, are you okay? What could I do to make your day better? I think that would make everyone feel like they could be a little bit more open and a little bit less guarded. And then that allows for there to be more conversation, right, around what's happening. So we aren't losing people to depression. We aren't losing people to anxiety or suicides because those feelings they literally will eat away at you
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Yeah.
They're like a virus. They just keep multiplying within you. And you really need, if you don't have support, find support within you, find support within an activity for you. But I definitely feel like as a society, we're getting more and more and more technologically advanced, but we're losing that human touch, that humanity. And I even see it
Absolutely.
with children, right? I mean, you look at children and they're so mean to each other. Now, granted, there was always bullies, okay? There's always going to be bullies. But kids just don't care at all about each other, especially like, girls, they're so mean. Girls have always been mean, right? Especially going through puberty, right? The body changing. You don't want the attention from the boys. But wow, so it's hurtful. It's so hurtful how these children are are interacting, and I think that really comes from this concept of like this individuality of I don't need anyone, right? So it's we need to start becoming more real and more authentic and being honest and having substance, whether it's home, work, school, wherever the case may be.
Well, I really hope more people start to see it that way. How can we inspire future generations to see mental health as the key foundation for building their true personal power?
I think it's by teaching them that they already have it and
Mm-hmm.
then showing them because kids are smart. It could be a 2-year old. Kids are smart. They're a lot smarter than I think sometimes we as adults give them credit for. If we lead, we have to lead by example, right? You can't preach something you don't practice. I think anyone can pick up it's disingenuous, especially a child. So you have to be showing this younger generation what it's like to actually be at peace centered, use your strength, have that resilience, right? Resilience is a big component of mental strength. I'll give you a prime example. My oldest goddaughter, beautiful young lady, and I see how much animosity she has. I mean, she's a short little tiny thing, and I could just see like this jealousy, envious kind of nastiness. And sometimes, because she stays with me often, and sometimes I've seen her interact that way, and I tell her, you know what? Just because someone did that to you,
Mm-hmm.
someone is messing with you, it doesn't mean you're better by giving their own medicine back. You're better by just saying, you know what? That's a you problem, not a me problem. Using that strength within you and letting it not affect you. It doesn't mean it's not going to bother you at first, but it's not going to continuously keep eating away at you. And I think that's the difference. If you can identify that something has hurt you or something has bothered you and you've accepted it and you are honest about it, feel the feels, as I call it, give yourself that time, and then say, you know what? Is this going to matter 3 minutes, 3 months, or 3 years from now? And if the answer is no, then let it go.
But I think that also comes with maturity and a lot of patience. What do you think?
I do, but I also think, I think the biggest problem that I'm seeing with the younger generations, if we're speaking exclusively with them, is we're not teaching them anything. They're learning everything from a computer, from their phones, from Instagram, from TikTok.
Less of
We as the
human
old
intervention.
Yeah. Well, think about it. How often do you go to a restaurant, let's say? Granted, I've never, been to India yet, but how often do you go? And I travel all over the world, everywhere, all over the world. It doesn't matter. You will see children like this
Yeah.
or with their iPads
Yeah.
everywhere. You mean to tell me that I successfully was raised without any cell phones, without any technology? And as a 2, 3, 4, 5-year old, I could sit at the dinner table and everybody would interact with me and play with me, and so I wasn't fussy, right? Because little kids get fussy, but now it's okay, here's the technology and shut you up. We are dumbing down and disconnecting this younger generation to such a scary level because they literally have no idea who they are because they're just trying to be like the most popular thing or person they're seeing on these
Hmm.
social medias.
Yeah. And speaking on same lines, what do you think the steps should be taken for them to make sure to normalize the conversations around mental health, especially the younger generation?
I think it's just about talking to them, being honest. I think what I've noticed a lot of times is adults don't want to tell children the full truth of a situation
Mm-hmm.
for one reason or another. And I think children know when they're not being told the truth or when they're being lied to.
Yes.
And yeah, they're smart, and, they're going to be big humans one day, as I always say it. So just be honest. Like my godchildren, and I have a lot of them, and, I have very close relationships with my nieces and my nephews, and children overall just tend to be drawn to me. I'm brutally honest about who I am, what I've went through. There's not a single question that you would ask me that I will not give you the truth. And the truth might be embarrassing. There might be shame. We've all done and said things we're not proud of, but I rather be honest and forthcoming with you. That way you know it's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have done something wrong in the past, and that doesn't define who you're going to be today or you're going to be 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now. And I think we try to hide so much. Like We live in such a fraudulent society, if you think about it, right? Everything is airbrushed, everything is filtered, everything is Instagram. Girls' bodies are just perfect, right? Everywhere you look, all these girls are getting surgeries, right? If we're especially talking about the females, but it also affects the males because they're looking at the older men, attracted to these artificial Barbies in a lot of ways. So that's what these young boys think a woman should look like, right? And these expectations, and it just snowballs. And then these kids are having, this is why you're seeing all of these young kids having depressions, anxieties, right? ADDs, ADHDs, bipolar, like all of these things that are happening. It's because they're literally raised like this, right? Constantly on a device, no human interaction, no human flaws, right? I mean, how powerful is it to see, let's say, your parents having a really bad argument, but in a respectful way?
Yeah.
Like, imagine how that impacts you as an adult to learn, hey, it's okay for two adults to maybe shout and maybe have a disagreement, that it doesn't escalate into abuse and it doesn't escalate into verbal or mental abuse, right?
Yeah.
How powerful are those skill sets? Well, how are
Absolutely.
those children learning it when they're just stuck behind a TV all the time?
Oh, I love that. The helping future generations see mental health definitely as a strength and not a struggle. And the way you explained it makes it feel, I would definitely say, real and possible in the upcoming time. Now, in your opinion, what would a truly mental health aware world look like, say in next 5 years?
Man, that's a hard one. It's going to be an answer most people aren't going to want to like. I think we need to go back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to really limit this dependence we have on technology. And we need to start having actual conversations. Like, this is amazing that technology has developed, that we're sitting on two sides of the world, two different time zones, and we're able to have this conversation, right? But that power of being within a group of people and a gathering is, there's nothing better. There's nothing more powerful. I mean, how amazing does it feel when you have a family gathering and the food is there and the music and everyone is talking and laughing and making fun of somebody, right? And, someone is gossiping about somebody in the corner versus when you walk in, the whole generation is, right?
Yeah.
But we've allowed that to happen. We've trained them that that is connection. And then you wonder why they're so mentally weak when they're hiding behind a keyboard, as I call it, all the time. They don't have to interact, right? They don't have to. I even see this with my god kids. They're like afraid to go up to a stranger and be like, "Hey, I'm lost. How do I get there?" That's intimidating for them. What are they going to do? Pull up the phone, type in the address, and follow the thing, right? But and that sounds so silly and basic, but the trajectory that we are on as a society is just going to create more and more mental health issues. And the people who are to blame for the mental health issues is my generation, which is the last generation of having no technology when they were growing up and thinking how great it is to use it with the kids to keep them as babysitters for free.
Going back to basics, well, I definitely love this powerful vision that you have, and I'm sure many listeners are really feeling inspired by this idea of future where mental health is being prioritized. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that. And if I may ask you, what kind of legacy do you hope to create when it comes to reshaping how we think about strength and mental wealth?
I don't really know if I'm looking to create a legacy. I think my objective is to cause what I refer to as the ripple effect. If I could put a seed, just a tiny little seed, in every single person that I've come into contact with, and maybe that seed takes root, that to me, I've done what I'm meant to do, what I believe is my purpose of doing, I want everyone to understand that there is so much power within them. They have everything that they need to be where they want to be. They have to believe it. The universe doesn't speak English. So you could talk the talk all you want and you could walk the walk all you want. But if you don't believe the talk and the walk, truly believe it, you're never going to get to where you want to get to because it's all energy.
Yeah. And many times I think people are looking for that reassurance because when I listen to you, when you say that you have the power to do everything in life if you put your mind into it. So at least I believe that, at times, many people are looking for that reassurance from someone to say that, yes, you're capable of doing it. And I must say that the way you talk about mental health makes it a lot more easier for people to understand and accept it. What's your vision for world where everyone understands that true strength begins with a healthy mind?
I just want people to understand that they're not as helpless as they think they are. That this is something I say a lot is nothing in this world is happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening for
You.
you.
Yeah.
So if you start to look at life as just this beautiful journey of lessons, and the more that you are open to these lessons and you turn them into blessings, you just become unstoppable. I mean, there's not a single person I've ever met, I've ever worked with that did not have the 1000 capability to make a change in their life. Most people do not get to where they want to get to because they have already decided they can't get there. And this is why I, for example, am very selective with my clientele. I will not work with just anyone. I have to know that you are 100% ready to rip the band aid off, get uncomfortable, and actually do the work to be where you are envisioning yourself, where you believe you can be.
I'm so inspired by the way you said, how much positive change is possible when we start from within. I think it's quite inspiring, and I'm sure our listeners listening and watching this episode, they have a lot to learn from this conversation. Now, what advice would you give to someone who feels mentally drained or emotionally stuck?
Well, those could be the same, those could be different. So let's just do the stuck. A lot of the times, and I've experienced it, we go through ups and downs. It's just a natural way of being. When you're stuck, it's kind of like when you're in quicksand and you keep fighting it. And the more you're moving, the more you're drowning, right? That's kind of the feeling of being stuck. Sometimes you just got to stop moving. Sometimes you have to stop pushing and realize, okay, maybe this is just the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, telling me just to sit in this for a minute, right? Just to give myself a break, take a mental health day, take a holiday, right? Whatever it is. Like, and this is like being stuck is what I call like writer's block, right? Many times, famous writers have quoted over and over again, if they're working on a book, they reach a moment where they're like, they have writer's block, they're stuck. And the best thing they can do is just walk away from the project completely and give themselves time. And then, the mind resets. So if you're stuck, sometimes it's you're only getting more and more, you're drowning in that quicksand because you're fighting it. So just in, chill out for a minute, right? Sit down. If you're a writer, write down what's bothering you. If you're someone, maybe go to the gym, maybe cook some food, maybe sing a song, just disconnect from that feeling for a little bit. When you're emotionally drained, however, you have to ask yourself, are you being drained? Are there people around you that are draining you? Or are you draining yourself because you're not nourishing yourself? Those are two different concepts. So I'll give you an example. Have you ever went to dinner with someone and you left that dinner and you're like, you feel great and you feel energized and you're like, woo, you're buzzing, right?
Yeah.
We've experienced that. But you've also had those dinners or those meetings where you're like,
When do
I'm
I leave?
so tired,
Yeah.
so tired. And you know what? You as an adult have to understand that everybody's energies are different. So if you feel that way around people, that doesn't mean they're bad people, but their energy and your energy are not jiving. So the next time you're around people and they're draining that way, a lot of the times, and this happens to a lot of empaths, is my rule with people that I know that are difficult, that I feel drained around, is instead of trying to put this barricade up of, protection, I just go, okay, you know what? Take what you need, take whatever energy you need from me. I have enough. And when I stop trying to protect my energy and, keep it inside, that's when I realized, okay, like I don't walk away from those people. Like I have a couple of people in my life that are extremely draining. They're very chaotic. They're just a mess, right? Great people, beautiful spirits. They're just a mess. And that's okay. Everyone has their own journey, but I just realized, okay, let me build a box, right? And also, I'm not going to spend 6 hours with them. We can do an hour, right?
Yeah.
Time limit. Now, if you're feeling drained every day, a lot of the times we as humans feel emotionally drained is because we are not nourishing ourselves. So if you go back to the plant analogy, If you buy a beautiful plant, but you never water it and never gets any sun, what do you think's going to happen to it? It's going to wilt. It's going to wilt. It's going to die, right? We are energy. We are spirits. We are a whole ecosystem in this body. Are you giving yourself every single day a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical food?
We got to ask that to
Right?
ourselves
You
every
have to ask
now
yourself
and then.
every day, are you physically moving? Listen, I like the gym. I don't have 3 hours a day to go to the gym. Most people I know do not have 3 hours to go to the gym, but you can find 15 minutes. You can go for a walk. You can go for a walk and put some music on. Wow. Now you're physically moving and now you're giving that nourishment to your soul, that joy, that time for yourself. Are you reading something that's stimulating you? Are you maybe watching a documentary that's broadening the mind using those mental muscles, right? Are you expressing every day when you wake up in the morning, whether it's a prayer or just a simple thank you for this day? Are you closing your day by saying, I'm so grateful today for gratitude?
Yeah.
You don't have to be these monumental changes, right? It's just the tiny little things, tiny, tiny little things every day that you can incorporate.
Yeah. That's such practical advice that you shared that, starting with small, gentle steps is so important, especially when everything feels quite overwhelming. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you, Nika, for being here today and for contributing to this much awaited conversation that I wanted to have with you. And trust me, your perspective on how true strength starts with a healthy mind has been incredibly inspiring. And I'm sure our listeners are leaving today's episode with some powerful takeaways. And I'm sure I'm going to hear that or watch those in the comments that I would receive once I have this episode. So thank you so much for being here. And I love the conversation we had today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. And if you enjoyed today's episode and the conversation, please like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. And until next episode, stay strong and remember it all starts with a healthy mind. Thank you so much, Nika, and I'll connect with you again. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.